Cole Watson, it's great to have you back on the Singletrack Podcast.
I'm so stoked to be back. Thank you for having me.
And this is a special episode for many reasons. One, you just secured a golden ticket to Western States. You got over that hump. We're going to celebrate that in a second. But we also have the unique fortune of being joined by my frequent colleague, Brett Hornig, who is your coach. He's helped you execute this race over the last few months. Brett, any words before we dive in?
I mean, we're sharing a microphone. We're actually in the same place up in Flagstaff, but it's an honor to be getting to have a conversation with you, because we actually haven't talked about the race since the race. So I guess this is as good a time as ever to do it.
Yeah, no, we haven't had a chance, so no holds barred now.
I know, yeah.
It's fair to ask, and I'm sure you'll be answering this question for the next 2 or 3 weeks, maybe even longer, but you've had 24 to 48 hours to start recovering from the event, processing the event. Any new thoughts or feelings that have arisen since the race?
Um, I mean, I'm already like kind of excited to plan states, so I think that's a good sign that the recovery is going the way we would want it to. I don't feel the best or the worst, somewhere in the middle after one of these races. But yeah, I mean, like right after the race, I like had some time to chill out. I took a shower and I was just kind of sitting at one of my crew members' house alone, and I was like, "Oh no, what did I get myself into?" In 6, 7, 8 weeks or something, I gotta run, you know, 40 more miles than this in hotter conditions, and um, but since I've slept in my own bed and yeah, 24, 48 hours have passed, I've kind of settled down, and I'm excited to get going on how we can, up the level again.
I do wonder, though, there was a little bit of chat in the Free Trails YouTube Live during the race. What actually feels hotter? Canyons during the first big heat wave of the year, or Western States when it's, 20 degrees warmer, but you've actually had time to train in the heat? And I don't know, I figured it might have almost been like a wash, but I am curious to see, like, how did you feel about the heat out there on Saturday?
I think it's just it. Yeah, they're different. I mean, with Western states, it's been hotter for longer, and I think that the temperatures are getting stuck in the canyons, and it's day after day. They're never getting blown out, so it's just kind of like an oven of the same air that's just always there. And this felt a little bit fresher, but still, like I showed up to the athlete panel on Thursday, and I was like, "Oh no, man! Like this is going to be a cooker." And it felt pretty dang hot, but uh, I managed to manage the heat pretty well, I think, and get cooled off at aid stations, and uh, knew some spots where some creeks were going to be, got in those, and it definitely helped kind of get through it all.
Yeah, I guess when, we kind of look back at your like years of running, I mean, I guess I don't know if I would say you've really had issues running in the heat. I mean, it still feels hot for everyone, but you've always seemed to like manage all right. Because I don't know if I would say that it was the heat that like derailed your Western states last year. What do you think?
No, I don't think last year it was the heat that did it. I mean, it played a factor in the nutrition, but I think it was mainly just me not really having a clue what I was doing nutritionally for that duration, in those elements. But since moving to Sacramento 5 or 6 years ago, I've gotten a lot better at running in the heat because you have a lot of opportunities to do it, and I think that was the biggest game changer. But I mean, coming from Oregon in high school and in college, when we would kind of get days sort of like canyons where just the heat kind of snuck up on everybody, I'd really feel it, and I'd fold pretty bad. Because in Oregon, really the only warm months are July and August, and then it's just raining.
Yeah, totally. I guess so. Going back to canyons, we talked a little bit about like, like, oh crap, I'm running Western states in like, 8 weeks. I was curious, how did your body feel like, Sunday after canyons versus Sunday after Black Canyon a couple months ago?
Um, Similar. I think similar, like the similar like types of muscles were sore. My quads are pretty sore, and I think it's because maybe there's so much downhill in Black Canyon, and then in this version of canyons, there's a lot of downhill the last like 15 miles or so, and I went at that pretty hard. But like my stomach felt a lot better after canyons versus Black Canyon. Like my abs were like actually sore because I spent so much time, losing my cookies on the trail. Um, but yeah, I have to say that I do feel a little bit better, and having a good race definitely helps. Like how you feel about that, it changes your perspective.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And I was already looking at the timeline between canyons and Western states before you had raced canyons because I'm an optimist in that regard, and I was like, we got to start counting weeks for Western states. But of course, I'm not going to
Yeah,
tell you that. I don't want to add any extra pressure. But
yeah,
timing wise, it's the amount of time that you trained from the CIM marathon to Black Canyon. A little bit of downtime, Black Canyon to canyons, a little bit of downtime, canyons to Western states. It's like the same time frame. So I'm confident that it's enough weeks for you to get ready
hmm
for the race, because I do recall when we talked on the phone before the race, you said that this race could be 100-miler, and you felt like you were probably ready to tackle that distance.
yeah. I think I might have mentioned that in Dylan and Corinne's interview after the race, and I hope people didn't think I was just saying that in hindsight. But I really, for the record, I did say that, and I felt that way. If Chaz was like, "Oh, sorry, 100K's canceled. If you want a golden ticket, you can run the 100-miler tomorrow." That'd be super nerve-wracking, but physically and mentally, I had the confidence to do it. I feel really strong. I feel really rested. I think the biggest difference going into canyons versus Black Canyon is uh, the workouts. I just wasn't like getting as tired. Like I felt like I definitely could give a couple more reps. And just overall, the training from CIM to Black Canyon to canyons, it just felt like it's built on each other a little bit more. And I have room to go. I haven't talked to Brett about it, but and I don't think we necessarily need to reinvent the wheel and just start running 120-mile weeks again, because that's what I used to do, and I was capable of it, but it wasn't maybe what was the best thing for me.
Cole, Brett allegedly advised no showboating for the first 3 quarters of this race. And the reason I bring that up is because I know at times during Black Canyon, both Tom Evans and Anthony Costales noted that you were dictating parts of the first half of that race. And it makes me wonder, with the Canyons race, did you feel like this was your race to dictate, your race to lead? Did you feel like athletes, other runners in the field were keying off you? Talk about that.
Yeah, I definitely felt that that could be a possibility, and I kind of felt that pressure. I wanted to be the stalker and the hunter in this one, but I think me and Brett kind of talked about the chance of some folks looking to me because they probably figured that I knew the unknown a little bit more. And so I think some people were hanging back, and then there's a couple other folks that were doing what I would normally do. Kind of be a little bit more brash in the first quarter of a 4-quarter race, and I was really happy that even in the second quarter of the race, when I saw people start to get a little antsy, kind of in that 25 to 30-mile range, I knew that like if I held back and waited to the hottest part of the day on the steepest part of the course, that hopefully people would come back, and that's what ended up happening in kind of the third quarter from 40 to 48.
We were doing the Sun of Peace Scramble live stream in the morning, over the course of the first few hours of the race. And I would love to kind of get your recap of like the first 15 miles, because we kind of figured it would probably go out pretty hot, out of downtown Auburn and then down towards No Hands. And then when you went up, like the training hill, you'd be able to kind of feel out what the vibes kind of were from everyone else. How how did that actually end up playing out? Like how prepared did we get for that?
It was pretty spot on. I mean, everybody raced through, the Auburn neighborhoods to try and get to Roby Point, first. And um, I think I was maybe in 10th going up Training Hill, but there was like 5 or 6 guys that were sharing first, and they were all running, and I knew that it was long enough and not worth it. I know how hard I can run that climb all out. It's about an average 17% grade, and I know how fast I can get up it just jogging, which is still a pretty dang hard effort for a 1.5 mile climb. And then I know how fast I can get up at just walking. And the difference between me going all out and me just walking is like 3 minutes. So I was just walking behind them, and it was kind of fun to watch everybody wasting a little bit more energy in the first 4 miles of their race. But then kind of settled down, into 7th about with Adam, Mary, Matt Daniels, and Laney was there. And we all kind of came through that mile 6 and 14 aid station together. And then we pretty much all ran together till about 26, the ALT. And then we started to catch Sebs Failer and David Roach going down American Canyon, because it kind of does that lower way too cool loop in reverse. So we went down American Canyon, and we caught him when we got to the big creek. I think it's Hoboken Creek or something. And then I think I came into Brown's Bar, the mile 30 aid station, maybe second or something like that. We were all together. Like there was 5 or 6 of us. And then Matt Daniels pretty much took off after 30. And then I ran with David Roach and Sebs Failer to no hands, which I think was like 37 or something like that. Yeah.
Matt Daniels made like an obvious move around the 30-mile mark, because all of a sudden he was like in the pack, and then the next time he updated, he was like 8 minutes up on everyone.
Yeah, I heard when I got to know, I knew that, yeah, like it was a pretty substantial move, and I kind of thought about going with him, but I was like, well, we talked about waiting a little bit longer, and I thought about it. I was like, what, it's not even that hot yet, but it's going to get really hot and really exposed in about 90 minutes. So, yeah, it really helped to kind of know where the sun kind of hits those trails in certain spots at certain times of the day. And like, we were really lucky on ALT, like where the sun was at and when we were getting there. And, but yeah, by the time we got to no hands, I was getting hot, but I heard that, Matt left about 5 minutes ago, and I had a chance to be the first one to leave the no hands aid station. So I did what I needed to do. I, got cooled off, did all the things that I know helps me be able to digest food better. And I just kind of took off through the confluence, and I did take that climb up for Old Forest Hill Road kind of aggressively, because I knew it was going to be a hard climb. It's on the road. It's really hot. There's not a lick of shade. It's 2 miles. It's not what you would expect from a trail race. So I think I might have put a gap on 3rd place there. And then I didn't have the best descent going down Stonewall to Mammoth Bar. It's like a mile descent, and it's like a mountain bike trail, and I was going pretty dang slow. I just didn't enjoy it. And that's something me and Brett have tried to get me to be better at is my descending, but my technical descending could still use some work.
Yeah. And I think that'll come into play huge at this year's Western States, of just like, it's not even a matter of like getting time on anyone or like losing contact from anyone in the first 50K, but it's just a matter of like, how efficiently can you get through the first 50K, so then you can just start doing your thing and like not be super beat up after Robinson Flat. I feel like that'll be like one of the biggest goals for the first 50K of the race. It's like, just survive it in a sense.
For sure. It'll be super interesting. I mean, I might have to wear some of the Hoka Kahas or Anacapa boots the first 30 miles, or I don't know. We might have to do drop bags. I don't know what they're going to do if the snow is like, the height of a basketball rim at Robinson.
Yeah, I know there's still a lot of question marks, because there's a chance of more snow this week. I think. I don't know if the snow levels will get
Yeah,
down
yeah. It.
as low as Robinson, but
I think it. Yeah,
it'll be interesting.
yeah. It rained. It rained here today in Sac, and they said it was snowing up at
Oh, okay.
Robinson. It was just 2 days ago. Is tipping the scales on 90 degrees.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. But I guess one thing you do know is that you can go pretty far between crew because you went from what 14 to 48 without
Yeah,
crew.
yeah. I
Uh,
mean, yeah, yeah. That was good practice for sure. I was, I kind of, I think people know that I've had my nutritional woes in some of these races, and I was very hesitant to use the on course nutrition because I just wasn't familiar with the brand. So I brought like my own like scratch stuff with me, like in the miniature packets, and I was just putting that in my bottles myself, like in between my crew. So I was carrying a lot of stuff. It was a pretty dang heavy pack. I didn't do a drop bag at Mammoth Bar because I
you
don't
just
know. I just didn't want
blew
to like
through it.
take the time to, yeah. But I mean, I did get ice there and stuff like that. And the aid stations, they were also good. They knew that it was hot. It just felt a lot like Western States. It was like the same types of volunteers, just into some different spots. And so they're really dialed, and they operate really efficiently.
Totally. Yeah, I think this would be a good time. Yeah, we should dive a little bit deeper into the nutritional aspect of the race because that was one of, I mean, yeah, you like blue chunks right at the river at Western States or just past it, and then at Black Canyon it was like right around mile 40 when you said it seemed like you just like exhaled a gallon of liquid all over the trail. I mean, didn't sound like there was much for nutritional problems. I mean, I was getting texts from Reed, who was in your crew, and he didn't say anything about such. But we did change a few things between Black Canyon and the canyons. But yeah, so how did all that go with some of the changes that we made?
Yeah, I mean it went about as good as I could have hoped for. It was my best race nutritionally, even going back to some of my shorter races where it's not as big of an issue. I've been more sick in 30 Ks than I was, this last Saturday, and I think it was just because I just backed off the amount and the intervals. Like instead of doing every 30 minutes and doing, I don't know, I was just taking in way too many carbohydrates per hour, and my body couldn't process it with how hard I have been running and like the elements and the temperatures. It kind of all factors in. So really, it was kind of, it seemed like it was an easy fix, but it kind of took a lot of failures to really force me to just try and take in a little bit less and a little bit less often. But like every 45 minutes, at least in the first 50K, I was fine. Like nothing at all. Like I could take it down. I was totally good. But as the temperatures rose, I'd get around 45 minutes. And we talked about not being so rigid with like don't set nutrition alerts or anything like that. Like if you want to take it at 30, take it at 30. If you want to take it at 50 or an hour, take it at an hour. Don't make yourself nauseous. Don't make yourself throw up. So there were times when I was like, oh, well, if I wait till 50 minutes, I'll be coming to a creek that I can get my head wet, or I'll be coming into an aid station and they can get ice on me. And so I would just wait till those points, and then I'd get cooled off. And then like, as soon as I got cooled off within minutes, I was like, I can eat this, and I would eat it. And then I would notice like maybe like a 10% boost in energy. It wasn't like super massive, but I kind of think that's what you want. You never want to get too high or too low. You don't want your energy to feel like it's like an ocean or like rapids, like crazy rapids in a river. You want it to just be like a smooth little riffle, um, and just like stay really even keel.
Cole, one question I want to ask off that. It seems like between Black Canyon and the Canyons 100K, there were numerous changes in race plan, numerous changes in execution strategy. Can you talk philosophically a bit about wrapping your mind around trusting the new plan, especially when, by a lot of accounts, you had a pretty solid day at Black Canyon still? So there wasn't much to improve in terms of like a podium spot and stuff like that. So walk us through like trusting that process of making significant changes in a lot of different areas.
Yeah, I mean, change is always a challenge, but I mean, I've known Brett and Gelfie for a long time. They've been some of my closest friends since I moved to Ashland, and I think that helps. Trust is, especially when people believe in you. It's like, why wouldn't you, just give it a go, and give it an honest shot. So I think like the difference between Black Canyon and Canyons, yeah, I was like I raced like polar opposites, and Black Canyon, me and Brett talked about the style of race that it was and like what my skill sets were. And he, we wanted to go out with the leaders, but I don't think he necessarily wanted me to take the lead and, 15 miles in. And then when I took the lead, to just keep pressing. And the biggest difference when I waited, well, I guess the biggest difference with Canyons is I waited till mile 40 to take the lead, or 43. But when I took the lead, I knew what I was doing was already good. I didn't press on the gas any more than I had already been pressing on it to catch him. So I just kept doing what I was doing. And yeah, I checked my 6 on some of the corners just to see if I could see anybody in the, my blind spots coming around turns. And I didn't see anybody. I heard that Justin Grunwald came into driver's flat at 48, 49, like a couple minutes after me. I think I took 3 minutes in drivers. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. He would know. But I got all the way up to the Forest Hill Road, which is about a half-mile climb out of drivers, ran all the way up that, crossed, and I saw my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law, and I said, hey, give me a holler if you hear somebody. And I heard him scream like I checked my watches, like 2.5, 3 minutes, but I wasn't sure because I was pretty far down the trail. So I didn't really know for sure if that's what I was hearing, but I think that was Justin up at the top of Forest Hill Road. But I guess, his hips he said his SI joint started flaring up. Yeah. So that was unfortunate, but yeah.
Yeah, Justin, he added so much to the drama of the day because for everyone watching the race, like there was no live stream and we were just going off of trackers and watching them update. And Justin's tracker was like broken. It said at mile 48, it said he was still like approaching Brown's bar. So everyone figured he had dropped. And then Reed texted and was like, oh yeah, Cole's left in the lead. Justin Grunwald was like 3 minutes behind. And I was like, hold the phone. Are you sure you know what Justin Grunwald looks like? And Reed's like, yeah, dude, I know who Justin Grunwald is. Like, Justin's in third. Yeah. I'm like, oh my gosh, nobody knows that Justin is in second right now. It was Justin and then Adam Mary. Like nobody in the world knew that because his tracker wasn't. I was like, dude, this dude's running like a ghost right now. So then there was just all these questions of like, what's going on? Where's Cole? Where's Justin? Where's Adam?
I had no idea because Justin, I didn't see Justin all day. Like I never saw him like even in the first 30 miles. The first 30 miles, it was Seb Svaler, David Roach, myself, Laney, Adam Mary, Matt Daniels. There was a guy that was wearing a lot of red Solomon stuff too, but I didn't recognize his name. But yeah, there's one other guy that was kind of around too. But yeah, I didn't know. Justin must have floored it after 30.
Dude, yeah. At what point I guess maybe, did you let any thoughts creep into your head late in the race of like, I'm going to win? Or was it like, I'm not letting myself think about that until I actually cross the finish line? Or was there a time in the race where you were like, I got this, I'm good?
No, I couldn't do that. Yeah, man, it was totally like the Kenny Rogers gambler song, like don't count your money while you're still sitting at the table, because I have done that, and I've done it. I think I did it in Black Canyon too, like I thought, like I was like, I am putting such a huge lead on these guys, and turns out I really wasn't. But yeah, it happened to me at Bandera, my first golden ticket race, like 2 or 3 miles to go, and I just, I wasn't. People did tell me, like when I got to Clementine aid station, they were like, "Do you want to know how much you have?" And I said, yeah. And they told me 9 minutes, and, it's probably approximate. And I was like, okay. But that still wasn't enough. I got to no hands, and I think Skip Brand told me I had 17. But even then, like Tyler Green was down there and the confluence, and he said, you got to run every step of this climb. And I tried but I think I got to the waterfall, and I just was like, I needed to walk that little part from the Calcutta waterfall there to, they got those like horse steps.
Yeah.
And then some of Roby I walked because I was just toast, but ran through most of the neighborhood, so I was proud of that.
Yeah, totally. I mean, yeah, I think you did a great job of just like continuing to press, and yeah, like you said, like not counting the chips at the table, because it's that can shift the whole mindset of the race. And like it's so hard to, like if you get caught after like being ahead for something, it's so hard to counter that move after, you know, 58,
Yeah.
59 miles of running. Um, yeah, I mean, I think that's just so cool. Like I don't know, just the mindset and the execution that you took into the day. And, that downtown finish actually did look pretty cool. There was some great video of you,
Yeah.
pumping the arms, after rounding that last turn.
I was stoked. I mean, I run. It was pretty much like everything that I imagined. I kind of daydreamed about this like a little schoolboy for a long time, because I'll do that. Like that Forest Hill Divide loop, that last, like, I don't know, 20 miles of the course. I do versions of that so much. I love the way it looks, and I love the climbs. You can get multiple downs and ups, and so like when I always am coming down Clementine Road, finishing runs up, and like it was just deja vu, like from training, like, and I knew that I could run close to 6 minute pace down that, and I really envisioned, like, there's times when I would imagine myself like coming onto Lincoln or High Street where I thought the finish was going to be, and kind of what it would feel like and look like, and it was just like when it happened, it was unreal. It was like, wow, this is insane. This is so cool. This is fun.
Speaking of the finish, Cole, heading into this race, there was a narrative around your career in the sport that you're one of the best pure athletes in the sport, but you've had this whole series of heartbreak, near miss performances at some of the biggest events on the U.S. circuit. You've since defeated that narrative with a golden ticket win at the Canyons 100K. And I guess I'm wondering, how big of a deal was this for you? What does this mean to you?
It's so huge, because I mean, I was getting so tired of that narrative. It was just after maybe at first, you're kind of like, oh well, that's nice that people, kind of feel sorry for you or something like that. But it was getting to the point where I was just running out of excuses. Like I'd raced all these golden tickets like so many different ways. From the front, maybe a little bit conservative, just all different styles, and it's like, I gotta put one together. And I mean, the recipe is just to keep trying. I don't really have much more than that. Like, I didn't know for sure if this was gonna be the one. And I told my wife, like, you know what, like, I'm still gonna run another 100K. I'm still gonna run another 100 miler after this. Like, I love doing this. Like, so no matter what happens, I'm gonna keep trying. That makes it worth it.
Yeah, one of the fascinating parts of this past weekend's race is that both you and Adam Mary had been working towards this goal really on similar timelines. Like the last 3 or 4, 5 years of the sport were dedicated to this golden ticket chase. And I like how you mentioned that regardless of the outcome at this past weekend's Canyons, you were still willing to stick with it and sign up for future 100Ks and whatnot to solve this goal. But I guess I'm wondering, how much pressure did you feel heading into this event? Did it feel like there was more on the line than other races like Javelina or Bandera or even Black Canyon in the past? Like, put this race in perspective versus the other high consequence events that you've been in recent years.
Yeah, I think that there was a lot more pressure. I mean, I think you guys helped contribute to that a little bit. I usually don't listen to the pre-race
You listened to the pre-race
previews.
podcast?
Could you?
Why did you do that?
So so yeah, you know, Jocelyn, she always like tells me that she's like, oh, you should listen to it. Like people said good things about you, and I was like, okay. So I listened to it, and then you know, Leah gave her picks, and I was like, oh, that's nice. Thanks, Leah. And then Brett gave his, and I was like, I knew what Brett was gonna say. And then Finn sealed the trifecta, and I was like, oh no, man. And I mean,
overwhelming favorite.
I think, you know, I know that a lot of, you know, the race, I know Chaz pretty well, and you know, the other people on, you know, that work for Epic Endurance, and a lot of people in the community, and you know, it's just you run into these folks a lot on the trails, and I think they know that it's been a lot of, you know, very close, but you know, no cigar moments, and I think I could tell that, you know, a lot of people were rooting for me and stuff, but it was a lot of pressure because I really do feel like I was running out of excuses to not like seal the deal on one of these, and I mean, this one being on my home trails, and you know, I should know how to run these and what kind of effort to put forth if I'm a good runner, you know, and yeah, so it was I felt it a lot more, but on race morning, I don't know, I was one of the calmest that I've ever been, and I don't really know how I did that. I think if you would have, I did check my heart rate. It was really low before the gun went off, and usually it's up there pretty high. So whatever that's worth.
Cole, you think about sports like basketball where there's quarterfinals and semifinals and conference finals before the big dance. To me, these golden ticket events feel like that equivalent where it's like it's the qualifier to the main event, the main goal, the A goal, stuff like that. What I want to ask you here, this was obviously a huge milestone for you in your career. It was something that you had to do, but does it seem like something worth celebrating in and of itself, or are you kind of like holding off on that until Western States because that is maybe the bigger thing on your agenda?
I mean, I'm definitely enjoying this one. I'm not. I just think these things are so hard to get right. You know, it's really hard to get the stars to align in races that are this long because there's so many stars that you have to connect. And I've been trying to do this for, you know, 5 years or so, and so I'm definitely, you know, enjoying, you know, the feeling and trying to hold on to it as long as I can. But there's going to be a time in a week or two when I start, you know, moving again, that I need to let go of it and focus on the task ahead. And Western States is a celebration. I mean, I was fortunate enough to get Hoka's sponsor spot last year and run it. And that's how I felt about it then. It was just a celebration and a reward. But I'm not going to just be happy to be there this time. I'm going to, you know, try and run a lot better than I did last time because I think I have some unfinished business.
Yeah, one thing that I've been kind of thinking about just when looking back at your training, because I definitely do have a pretty unique view on your training, having, you know, gotten to talk for many hours about it with you. And, you know, I don't think it's necessarily ever a case of like, this is what I say, you got to do it. I mean, I feel like we collab a lot on like, what do you think of this idea? Or this is what I'm thinking of. You know, going back to like, you know, all the golden ticket races are like the qualifier and then Western States is the championship. It does really seem that like a lot of people have to approach the qualifiers like it's a championship. And then when you get that golden ticket, it's like you won the championship. And then where do you go from there at Western States?
Yes.
You see that so many times. And, you know, I guess, I don't know, maybe it's like a loaded question, but I'll ask you anyways. Like, I personally feel like there's, you know, room for growth still within your training from here to Western States. Like, I don't feel like we, you know, turned over every stone in the Canyons training. I feel like we still left a lot, you know, untouched. So I'm excited for, you know, the next couple months of running, but I was curious to hear what you thought about that. Like, how complete do you feel like the Canyons training was? And where do you think, where do you think we could go from here for Western States?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, going into other races, I've often felt like very prepared. And maybe it was like just like the way I am, and like maybe the self belief that I have in myself. Um, but I always felt very prepared, and it's not a knock against Brett, but in Black Canyon and Canyons, I felt like I still did have another level to go. Like maybe I was a little bit undertrained, and in his eyes, I was probably right where he wanted me to be. Yeah. But to me, I was kind of always like, I have more to give. And maybe that's just indicative of the fact that like I've done 120, 130 mile weeks, and stuff like that. And I haven't run over 100 miles since before CIM. And I haven't needed to. And, I think that's great.
Yeah.
So I'm excited and looking forward to, seeing what we do in these next 8 weeks. I do feel like I can, I do have more to give, I think. And we've kind of we've changed a lot, like with the taper into races. Like I haven't dropped off as much before races, but at the same time, I'm not, overdoing it really either. But
Totally.
I felt very good going into these things. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess that's like probably a bit of a gamble that I took on my part as well in terms of riding your training of like, I knew there was more running I could have given you that you would have done. I know there's, Ron Burgundy reads everything on the teleprompter. Cole Watson runs everything in the training log. Like that's just how it goes. So you got to, and that's great. It's a blessing and a curse. But I was always thinking, like, well, shoot, what if Cole does 100, what if we run at 100% ability level in the training for Black Canyon or for Canyons? Where can you do that like 3 times in a row? Can you then do that again for Western States? Do you plateau as you go into Western States burnt out? So part of, I guess, my calculus, like this whole first half of the year was like, can I get Cole fit enough where he can race and get a golden ticket off of like, say, not 100% of the training? Cause like we were saying, like you would want to be even better for the championship than the qualifier race. But the hardest part is like qualifying for the championship. So I was always kind of curious. I was like, I think Cole's good enough where he can get a golden ticket, still kind of slightly undertrained.
Yeah, like 85% or 90%.
Yeah, I don't know what the percentage number is, but
yeah.
I mean, shoot, I'm really glad it worked, or else I'd feel like a huge idiot. But so that's why I'm so excited for Western States and like you said too, we're not reinventing the wheel. Like it's not like we're gonna all of a sudden be like, oh yeah, like we're going 30,000 feet of climbing every week now, like immediately bumping up to 20 hours. But it's like we added a little bit more for Canyons than we did from Black Canyon. So you can probably see where like the natural progression of the 3 training blocks are headed.
Yeah. I mean, the block for Canyons felt a little bit on paper. It looked harder than Black Canyon, and I think it didn't feel harder though. I think because I was fitter. I think CIM, like, and that was under Gelfie, and he would let me just play into like things, like if I wanted to do a workout a little bit harder, he was like, yeah, let's get after it. And we had fun with it. And I would get in really good shape really quick. And I think CIM was an excellent training run for Black Canyon, even though CIM didn't really go the way I wanted it to. But Black Canyon was then, in a way, a great training run for Canyons, and Canyons is like kind of the final workout long run for states. I mean, not the final one, but one of the bigger ones anyway. And I just think like we've paid more attention to doing like really, really specific workouts and some long runs to the course at hand. If it was Black Canyon or Canyons, it just seemed like really, really course specific.
Yeah, definitely. Because, yeah, we did do a lot of different things for sure. And yeah, we'll do a few different things now. I got to take another deep dive. I mean, I know the Western States course pretty well. I mean, we ran a good portion of it last year on two different occasions. We actually ran 50 miles of the Western States course together last year in the spring, because we did that one from Green Gate to the finish, and then we did
That's right. I
and then we
forgot
did
about
Robinson
it. Yeah.
Flat to Forest Hill on one of the training camp days. So yeah, I mean, I'll take
We've done almost the whole thing.
yeah,
Like, because I
because
paced you
you
the
paced me
first
to the
time in the United
river.
States.
Yeah, we've run
So the only
70
section
miles of the Western States course together.
we just haven't done the first 30.
Dude, we got to go put on our snowshoes. Go
Yeah, I don't know,
preview.
man. They got some trail work this weekend that me and Jocelyn are going to go do, and it's going to be interesting.
What
I don't know what
section
we're
are
going
you
to
guys
be able
working
to
on?
do. I think I guess Craig said some Cal Street stuff. So
Okay.
I don't know what needs to be done because I thought they just ran a race on it.
Well,
They
maybe it
said the
got
100
trashed
milers
and
up
they
there,
need
I
to go
thought.
fix it now.
I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm interested to know what the rest of it looks like. I haven't been up there.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I saw a couple pictures that Mike McMonigal put up there, and like, I mean, it was just torch. That fire burned so hot through there. So, I mean, Cal Street's going to be
Yeah.
even hotter than it has in the past. So, that'll definitely
Well, yeah,
be different.
that's a big factor. I'm wondering too, like how much snow there will be in the first 30 and how much it will slow everybody down, like more than other years that there's been some snow, and like what time of day is that going to push us back to be going through Deadwood and Cal Street and stuff like that. Like, oh boy, we might be in for a real cooker.
Yeah, I know it's gonna be super interesting. Yeah, that's for sure. But
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of the rest of this week, you should pretty much do like a whole bunch of nothing. Uh, maybe go like walk the
Yeah,
dog or
no,
something a couple times.
I tried to walk him yesterday, but he's kind of a puller. It was a liability. I need to go out there with a cane and a walker.
Cole, we love developing storylines around our sport here at Singletrack, and the one that you just vanquished was the whole breakthrough moment. And you're no longer knocking on the door; you've arrived. What's the news story around your place in the sport? Would you say?
Oh man, I don't really know how to answer that, to be honest. I mean, I'm gonna keep doing what I've always been trying to do. Just get the best out of myself and just be thankful that I get to do this because I think we lose sight of that. Like we get to go out and march 60 to 100 miles around some trail and like that's we choose to do that, and we call that fun. So I'm just living in the moment and just trying to enjoy every bit of it.
You talked about self-belief earlier. Do you believe in your hardest of hearts that you can win Western States, that you are a runner that can hold that Cougar trophy?
I hope so. I mean, someday. I think this sport is something that you need to take steps in, and you can't just like go 0 to 100 like I've tried to race sometimes. I want to improve off of 2022. I think I was 15th or 14th or 15th, and I would just like to see like my time drop a couple hours. So just keep the nutrition down and keep running and be competitive in that last 20, where I know that's like probably my strongest part of the course.
Do you believe that when you're having your best day, that your best stuff is as good as anybody's stuff in our sport?
I know Brett does.
I'm a believer.
I think that's hard. That's hard for me to say. I mean, I just have so much respect for a lot of my peers. I think we all have pretty unique skill sets. It's just like, how we run tactically to put ourselves in a position to use those skill sets. So, I mean, it's, everybody, I think, has an opportunity to have their day in the sun, depending on a lot of factors, execution and luck. I think we all need a little bit of luck sometimes. Other people kind of have to have some not so good races so that others can have great ones. And that's just something that I can't control. I just got to do me, and it's too darn long of an event to be worrying about what anyone else is doing.
Yeah, that's actually our sport, we're in such an interesting spot in the sport right now, just with the races being the deepest they've ever been, the most competitive they've ever been. And like, you can't win a race like, canyons or Western states off of fitness alone. Like there's probably 10 guys on all of these races that fitness wise, probably all about the same. It's then a matter of like, who makes the best decisions during the race to best utilize the fitness that they actually have. And, like you had said, like that's where the tactics are playing in right now. Like, when you were in college, you couldn't just all of a sudden like run away from a field midway through a 1500. Well, it's like everyone's fast enough and fit enough to go out however hard you want to, but you got to be able to kick at the end and make the move at the right time. And I feel like we're entering an era where ultra marathon racing is having, tactics like that now. And yeah, I think you're figuring it out like at the right time.
Yeah, no, yeah, there can only be one winner. Everybody else is kind of, there can only be one winner, and yeah, I think that it takes a lot, a lot of things to go your way and a lot of things to not go other people's ways.
I got a question for both you, Brett, and Cole. And Brett, maybe you can answer this first. From the perspective of a coach, what do you do and not do working with Cole in the next 8 weeks before the race?
I do not tell Cole to go do whatever he wants. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna like be a dictator and tell him, do this, do this, do this. But I think, we're just not gonna do that much different stuff. I haven't really, one thing I haven't really even like paid attention to much. Like I know you utilize the sauna, a pretty good amount. I think taking a look at it and making sure that we just maximize and maybe not overdo the sauna work that you're doing, because the temperatures are also going to get up, and you're going to also just now be able to run in the heat and amount. So, it'll be about like making sure that we can continue to run what you're running and do the workouts, but then also add in that heat exposure tactically and not overdoing it. And, making sure that the body knows what's going on at, 100 degrees. And because your sauna is great. You get that, you get the physiological heat adaptations, but, I feel like at some point, you're getting really good at like sitting in a hot box. Like I want you to be really good at running in that hot box. So fortunately you have,
Yeah, definitely.
you have, you have the ability to run in some warmer temperatures. So I think one of the biggest changes between like canyons and Western states is we'll start to utilize some afternoon runs and picking and choosing if it's going to be a workout or just a long run or an easy run, etc., just to get that like actual outside heat stimulus, because that serves its own purpose too.
For sure. Yeah.
Cole, I guess I have one more question for you. And by the way, we really appreciate your time, and this has been awesome. And I love just watching you and Brett like nerd out on the training. It's awesome, and I think the audience will enjoy it too. I don't want to quote you word for word, but I thought you said something really interesting in that finish line interview with Dylan and Corinne, where you said that like over the course of your career, even dating back to high school and your time at Oregon, nobody was really knocking down on your door, like putting opportunities in your lap. You've really had to work for a lot of your success, and you've had to take a lot of initiative in the process. And I'm wondering, just being 2 days removed from the event, if you could reflect on that some more and talk about just how that's molded your mindset in this sport and how it shapes your future.
Yeah, yeah, I had a successful high school career, but that, I had to work really hard for that too. And in college, it didn't seem like no matter how much I wanted to be, uh, you know, a sub 4 minute miler or a sub 14 minute 5K guy or all these milestones, like it just didn't matter how bad I wanted it. And, um, I just, I just wasn't connecting the dots. So, I didn't have a chance to get offered a track sponsorship out of college like a lot of the people in my class did. I mean, I was in a great class at U of O, but yeah, the trails just opened up a whole new world of opportunity for me. And I mean, Brett and Gelfie and Hal and my wife and everybody that I was working with uh, at the store in Ashland just kind of they all saw the talent there and the ability, and maybe even more than I believed in myself at that point in my life. I think I was a little bit kind of burnt out and ready not to really train or race too hard anymore after college. But I think once I got on the Western States Trail, I felt like when I first stepped on the campus at the University of Oregon, just like this magic. You can kind of just feel the history in your soul, sort of, and it's just a really inspiring uh, feeling, And I guess I chase feelings like what I earned on Saturday. It's they don't come around that often, and they shouldn't be taken for granted. But man, when they do, uh, it just it's just so special. Like, to feel that love and all that hard work pay off.
So to getting that win on Saturday leave you feeling more inspired for what's to come in the sport, or does getting that win almost like complete that chapter? Because most pro athletes are like, oh yeah, like that stoked the fire want more, and like, dude, I'm still battling those demons from Javelina where I'm like, damn, dude, that race was so good. Like, I'm just like good now, like I figured it out. But where are you at coming after this win at the Canyons 100K?
Oh man, I mean, I guess if I lived my life resting on my laurels, like maybe I would have like quit after high school. I mean, I was a 7-time state champion in high school, and I don't think I won a race until after college. I think North Face 50K or maybe Lithia Loop was the first race that I won since my last state championship in 2010. So 2010 to 2017 or something, I didn't win a race. And as a professional, I haven't. The last time I won a race was maybe Chuckanut, or I mean, I don't know. It was. I haven't had a lot of wins. I've had a lot of podium finishes, but it's just. It definitely stokes it to me wanting to like go and chase it again. Run down that feeling another time.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think I'm glad you gave that answer, because if you had given the other one, I would have been like, "No, man, you need to go to bed and wake up tomorrow morning and try and answer that
Rethink
question
that
again."
one.
I'm not through with you yet.
Yeah.
Well, Cole, I got to say, I always appreciate every time you come on the podcast and impart the wisdom you do. And there's nobody that, and I know that we're biased here at Singletrack, but I don't think there's anybody we wanted to see have more success this past weekend at Canyons than you. Adam Mary's a close second, so it all worked out in the end. But seriously, we're so stoked for you. I can't wait to see you and Brett working together these next 8 weeks before states, and to see you execute again at that race. And just thanks for being a great ambassador to the sport, man. We're really grateful.
Thank you. Yeah, you guys too. I mean, it's so fun what you guys are doing, and it's just it's great to see, you know, you get other folks jazzed about this world that we have at our feet.
We'll make sure to link to all of your social media and stuff so people can follow you. But do you have any final thoughts for the listeners before we go?
Geez, I don't know. I mean, I guess I'll see you at States.